capable of using elemental energy without a fission. You are an exception, it appears. Exceptions, the enemy of eternity.
Raiden Shogun, whose real name is A, is the Electro Archon of Inazuma, and in this video we will make a Raiden guide discussing her pros and cons, talents, artifact sets, weapon choice, and character synergies. So without further ado, let's proceed with the guide. Firstly, why should you play Raiden Shogun? Raiden Shogun is arguably the strongest universal battery, not only being able to regenerate your team's energy but also deal massive amounts of damage. She's also consistent and self-sufficient off-field electro applier, which opens up a window for continuous blocking of electro reactions like overload and electro charge. She also generates electro particles consistently thanks to her coordinated attacks. She deals considerably massive damage even at C0, and her early constellations are extremely good, making her constellations extremely accessible to low spenders, and lastly, she's cute and hot. Now why shouldn't you play Raiden Shogun? Although Raiden Shogun's skill does coordinated attacks which provides consistent electro aura application, the scaling and damage potential of these coordinated attacks are relatively low. Even though she consistently applies electro aura among enemies, electro reactions are not really the best reaction in the game compared to Vaporize and Melt. Also, if you'll try to min-max Raiden to reach her maximum potential, she's really challenging to build as she requires perfect substats, 1-to-2 crit ratio for consistent critting of her coordinated attacks and burst damage, and lastly, she needs a well-balanced amount of attack stats and energy recharge levels to deal massive amounts of damage and at the same time recharge her whole party's burst. And sadly, Raiden Shogun cannot cook. Now that we have tackled why you shouldn't play Raiden Shogun, we will now proceed with her talents. Her normal attacks origins are the standard set of normal attacks that you can get from polearm characters. They have impressive frame data with good animations and very little animation lags. Unfortunately, however, her normals are barely an integral part of her kit and barely contributes with her overall damage. As such, they're practically useless as they have low scalings and her kit doesn't really revolve around her normals. Secondly, her elemental skill, Baleful Omen, does an initial slash which deals electro damage on initial hit, and grants characters the Eye of Stormy Judgment. Characters with the mark of the Eye of Stormy Judgment deals an electro-coordinated attack that deals electro AoE damage whenever an on-field character deals damage. Coordinated attacks can be procced every 0.9 seconds, allowing Raiden to constantly apply and deal electro damage, giving a window for multiple transformative reactions like overload and electro charge to occur, providing supplementary damage, or constantly proc Superconduct, which reduces enemies' physical resistance. Moreover, this skill allows Raiden to constantly produce electro particles because each coordinated attack after the initial hit has the 50% chance to generate one electro particle every 0.9 seconds, giving Raiden the ability to potentially generate 33 electro particles every minute. Other than providing coordinated attacks, the Eye of Stormy Judgment also buffs the burst damage of all characters within the party, including Raiden herself, based on the energy requirements of their respective elemental burst. For example, Raiden's burst energy cost is 90, and at talent level 9, burst damage are buffed by 0.3% for every energy cost point, which means Raiden's burst damage is increased further by 27%. Making sure that this skill is always active will ensure every character would have the burst damage buff every time. The uptime of this skill is easy to maintain as it has 25-second duration with 10-second cooldown. Moving on to Raiden's most defining and integral feature of her kit, her burst, Secret Art Musou Shinsetsu, has a 7-second duration with 18-second cooldown. Upon casting her burst, she unleashes an initial slash that deals massive damage and afterwards changes her stance and gains special set of attack animations that are infused with Electro. The Electro infusion cannot be overridden by any other elements, and moreover, every time she hits opponents, she will regenerate flat energy for the whole party once for every second and can be triggered 5 times during the burst duration. While in this stance, Raiden Shogun's normal, charge, and plunge attacks are counted as burst damage. Raiden Shogun's resistance to interruption is also increased and makes her immune to electro reaction damage during the duration of her burst. Another feature of this burst are her resolve stacks, which are gained whenever party members, excluding Raiden Shogun herself, cast their respective elemental burst. The resolve stacks gained by the Shogun are based on the respective energy cost of respective elemental burst of characters. At talent level 10, the stacks gained are 20% of the burst energy cost of the caster. For example, Lisa has a burst energy cost of 80, which would give the Shogun 18 resolve stacks whenever Lisa cast her burst, while Bennett on the other hand, who has a burst energy cost of 60, will give Raiden Shogun 12 stacks. Now what these resolve stacks do is that they enhance Raiden Shogun's initial slash and burst attack afterwards based on how many resolve stacks she has before casting her burst. Therefore, it is crucial for the Shogun to cast her teammates' burst first, as they give resolve stacks to Raiden and would allow Raiden to recharge their burst during her Musou Shinsetsu. Like the Baneful Omen, Musou Shinsetsu also does not snapshot in any way. As such, it is optimal to cast all the buffs possible before casting her burst to maximize its damage. Raiden's burst, however, has a weird interaction with Beido's and Electro Traveler's burst, as Raiden's burst normal do not proc their respective elemental burst because both requires that the active character's normal attacks hit and Raiden's normals during her burst are considered burst attack hits, not normal attack hits. Even though disappointing, Raiden Shogun can still utilize other team comps that are as strong, if not stronger, than the Beido comp. For her passive talents, her first one is the Wishes Unnumbered, which passively grants the Shogun additional 2 resolve stacks whenever an active character gains an energy particle or orb. This is a strong talent that allows Raiden to reach her maximum resolve stacks without C1. Thus, whenever Raiden's and other party members' bursts are in their downtime or not fully recharged, it is optimal to recharge them by gathering particles through skills or other sources possible, as it doesn't only allows your whole party to have their respective bursts to be available, but also allows Raiden to reach her maximum resolve stacks. Her second passive talent is called the Enlightened Wand, and this talent grants 0.6% greater energy restoration from her burst and further grants her 0.4% electro bonus damage per 1% of excess energy recharge. Assuming that Raiden has an energy recharge of 200%, it grants Raiden 40% electro damage bonus and 60% greater energy restoration from her burst, which allows Raiden to restore 20 energy over the whole duration of her burst. Moving on to her constellations, C1 or Ominous Inscription increases the amount of resolve stacks gained from ally burst by 20% and up to 80% if the ally is Electro. This allows Raiden to fill up her resolve stacks faster without relying to her first passive too much, effectively making her rotations faster and smoother. For C2, Steelbreaker, Raiden Shogun ignores 60% of the enemy's defense whenever she is in her burst stance, effectively increasing her damage potential by a mile. Although it is her burst constellation, it is not a necessity to pull, and it is not required for Raiden to deal significant amount of damage. C3 or Shinkage Bygones increases her burst talent levels by 3. It is very straightforward and as such further increases the damage that the burst can deal. If you want to save up for other characters, this constellation is a good stopping point as this is the last constellation that would significantly boost Raiden's damage. C4 or Pledge of Property grants party members excluding Raiden herself 30% bonus attack after her burst ends. This constellation is not necessary nor a must pull. It can be helpful but it barely does anything to boost Raiden's damage. C5 Shogun's Descent increases her skill talents level by 3. C6 or Wishbearer decreases all party members' elemental burst cooldowns, excluding Raiden herself by 1 second for every attack by Raiden Shogun that are considered part of her elemental burst. This can be triggered by a maximum of 5 seconds and it is not needed although it can make her rotations potentially even smoother. For artifact stats, the main stats that you would want will generally depend on the weapon and the team compositions that you're running on Raiden. If you're having trouble to independently recharge Raiden's burst during its downtime, you should use Energy Recharge Sands. You may also use it whenever you're using Engulfing Lightning and weapons without Energy Recharge substats. It may also be an option if attack buffers like Kojo Sara and Bennett already exist in your team comps. This choice would not be a huge damage decrease as excess ER levels are converted to damage by her passive. However, attack sands are still the way to go if you want to maximize damage and if you're not having trouble recharging her burst. For Goblet, attack goblets are in my opinion more preferable over electro damage goblets as her passive already provides her electro damage bonuses. However, this is just my opinion and to sum it up, just use the goblet that has the better substats. For Circlet, just use between crit rate or crit damage, whichever balances your 1 to 2 crit ratio. For artifact substats, your priority are as follows: crit rate or crit damage, attack percent, energy recharge, and flat attack stats. For energy recharge levels, it depends on what you're willing to accomplish. 200% ER should be the minimum as it allows Raiden to solo battery herself and it allows her to regenerate 20 burst energy points per burst cast. 250% ER can also be a choice as it increases your energy regeneration from 20 burst energy points to 24 energy points. Generally, it doesn't significantly reduce your damage as again, excess energy recharge levels are converted to electro damage bonus by her passive. Moving on to her artifact sets. 4-piece Emblem of Severed Fate is your undisputed best-in-slot artifact as such a set is tailor-made for her. It gives you everything Raiden wants in one package: energy recharge on the 2-piece, and ER conversion to burst damage percent on the 4-piece. And this set has no caveats really, as simply equipping this would outright burst her damage. As such, there are no real alternatives that can nearly compete with 4-piece Emblem. Thus, after gaining access to the Emblem domain, start farming in it, as it is one of the most resin efficient domains in the game. Moving on to her weapon choices, for 4-star weapons, Catch is your go-to weapon of choice as it is free-to-play weapon, meaning it is accessible for every player. It is extremely good on Raiden, providing burst damage bonus and crit rate bonus as well. So yeah, start fishing and quickly refine this weapon as soon as possible. Other 4-star weapon options include Wavebreaker's Feint and Deathmatch, although these are harder, more expensive to obtain, and needs refinements to compete with the Catch. For 5-star weapons, all polearms are generally usable. Ranked from worst to best 5-star polearm are as follows: Skyward Spine, Vortex Vanquisher, Primordial Jade Winged Spear, or Staff of Homa, and then her signature weapon Engulfing Lightning. Proceeding with team comps, Raiden shines whether she's the primary damage dealer teamed up with off-field damage dealers and support units, or the sub-DPS that strengthens the primary damage dealer. However, it is important to keep in mind that although she's a very versatile unit, she doesn't shine as much when you just randomly insert her without minding the team synergy. As such, it is crucial to factor in Raiden's synergy with other characters within given team comp. To give examples of team comps, Raiden National or Rational Comp consisting of Raiden, Xiangling, Xingqiu, and Bennett works well, as this source of damage comes from their elemental burst. As such, Raiden provides consistent electro aura application to consistently proc several reaction and buffs the whole party's elemental burst damage. And because the party's primarily depends on their burst as the source of damage, it allows Raiden to easily achieve her maximum resolve stacks and can easily recharge their burst. Another team that can utilize Raiden is a variant of Child's International, as Child's fast Hydro application enables both Raiden and Xiangling to consistently proc Electro Charge, Overload, and Vaporize reaction. Although not as burst dependent as the team mentioned before, every party member's burst are an integral component of the team's overall damage. As such, the presence of Raiden further boosts the team's overall damage, while Raiden in turn can easily recharge their respective burst. Raiden-Lisa team comp consisting of Raiden, Lisa, an Anemo unit preferably Kazuha, and Bennett is also another viable comp that enables hyper carry Raiden. Lisa reduces the enemy's defense, Kazuha can swirl Electro to provide electro damage bonus and shred enemies' electro resistance, and provide consistent pyro application by swirling pyro aura provided by Bennett's burst, and the presence of Bennett allows you to further buff your team's overall damage. Furthermore, you can use Thrilling Tales on Lisa to further boost Raiden's damage, though I chose not to because I still want my Lisa to do damage. Alternative to Kazuha, you can use either Xiangling, Sucrose, and Xingqiu, as all provide consistent off-field damage. Lastly, another comp that is popular is the Eula Nook comp, consisting of Eula, Raiden, Lisa, and Bennett or Diona or Rosaria. Presence of Lisa and Raiden allows the consistent proccing of Superconduct, which reduces enemies' physical resistance, increasing Eula's damage. It also buffs Eula's and Lisa's elemental burst, allowing them to deal more damage. Additionally, Raiden's burst allows the team to easily recharge their elemental burst during their downtimes, and presence of Bennett further buffs the team's overall damage. And now, finally, we'll now proceed to the showcase, and I hope you enjoyed the guide, learned something new about Raiden, and help you in maining Raiden Shogun. Without further ado, let's start with the showcase.
You paint a picture in my mind. You wanna leave it all behind. In a world that's turning all the time, nothing could stop me longing for your eyes. I won't let it die. I can feel you when you're not around. When the night gets cold, I won't be alone. We won't be This lake of fire burns my skin. How could love wear so thin? I'm sinking in the hollow ground. Nothing can stop me wanting you somehow. I won't let it die. I can feel you when you're not around. When the night gets cold, I won't My heart rages around like an ocean in my head. I can almost feel you walking in the distance, but I know that it's not reality. If you are echoing around inside these parallel dimensions all alone, know I'll find you in my dreams. I just can't let you go. Lord knows that I've tried to. You said I was the only one. No one likes being lied to. You made this mess and left me with the pieces. Now I wanna burn all the bridges between us. I can't focus, I can't forget. I've been thinking too much lately. I just need to clear my head. I just need to clear my head. I've been stuck on your memory, but it's not like I need